As you know, we are well divided. A country divided cannot stand.
Right.
Who benefits from that? Our enemies from outside this country. Okay. But what has happened is they found a sweet spot in trying to maintain a division between black men.
Hey, family, welcome to another episode of Roundup with Rodney and Rodney.
I'm Rodney Littles.
And I'm Rodney Butler. Today we have a great show lineup for you. I think you're going to really enjoy it. I think you're going to really enjoy our special guest we have on. And, of course, we got Bobby Fryer, as usual, talking about his Politics Corner. Rodney, how's life been treating you since our last episode?
Not too bad, my brother. Since we last talked, I was down in Florida in Palm Beach Gardens around the corner from Mar-a-Lago. I got out of there as fast as I could. It's not a sundown town, but, I wasn't taking any chances.
They still, people don't know it, but they still got those sundown towns, bro. And, so if you don't know what we're talking about, just look it up. Just Google sundown town. You'll know exactly what we're talking about. But that's great, man. Same here. I've been doing pretty good, man. Just scratching and surviving, brother. And but otherwise, just trying to make sure that we do what we have to do to inform the audience, man. So just looking forward to some events coming up, and otherwise, we're good to go. What we got next, Rodney?
Well, we need to welcome our Black Man's Roundtable political contributor, the Bobby Fryer Show. Come on, Bobby. He's going to bring us up on the latest political Hey, there he is.
Welcome, hey, Bobby. Can you see us and hear us, brother?
I can see and hear you good, brothers. How y'all doing?
Man, doing pretty good. What about yourself, Bobby?
Doing great. Every day is a blessing, so no complaints.
Yes,
good
sir.
Stuff, man. What you got on the corner for us tonight, the political corner?
So tonight, I want to talk just briefly about false propaganda. There's going to be a lot of it upcoming here with this election. A lot of false propaganda is being spread. So there's a story I'm going to touch on right at the end. But please be aware, there are a lot of false stories that are going to be put out there by bad actors that are not necessarily here in the United States, but outside of the country, which tells you which kind of influence they want to have in this election and who we vote for. OK, so just beware of outlandish stories or things that don't really make much sense, and be careful and do some fact checking. OK, there's going to be a lot of uses of AI. All right. Artificial intelligence about things that may seem to be real, but are not. So just want voters to be up to date. Please do your research from a credible source. If something doesn't sound right, check it for yourself. Do some fact checking before you start spreading things that just are patently false and not true. So one of the things I've noticed from the very beginning, if you recall, when Vice President Harris was the nominee, a lot of the things was going out about her personally were just not true. So if you notice, and sadly we saw this even from the pulpit in churches, of people spreading false information about how many, all she's done is locked up a whole bunch of black people. And then you do the research and realize, well, the number that was shown on that was a total of 45. Do your research on the Back on Track program, which prevented a lot of recidivism on lesser charges about things like that. So if you notice, a lot of that stuff is not being said about her much anymore. They've shifted on things that they wanted to tag her on before and realized we can't keep going with that narrative because it's just not sticking. And plus it's false. So the latest example that we have is a false story created in Ohio about Haitian immigrants, Haitian migrants that have come here and are eating pets, specifically cats, ducks, geese. This outlandish story, unfortunately, has been spread also by the likes of Ted Cruz, Elon Musk, and even the vice presidential candidate, J.D. Vance. The story is concocted in Ohio, which makes it even more ridiculous and irresponsible that someone like J.D. Vance would repeat this narrative. And I'm just going to tell you, as of today, now he's tried to backtrack from it. But it just shows you how ridiculous things can be. But let me just briefly tell you what the story was about again. Allegedly, and this was social media spreading this information from someone's neighbor's friend's daughter, all that kind of nonsense, of discovering a cat that was missing from a home. The cat allegedly being found hanging off of a tree, and someone eating the cat. Um, the story just sounds insane to begin with. And the idea behind this is to somehow, again, create this narrative that migrants have come here and they're just destroying the country, just out of control. And that's really the focus of what this is about, with creating these kind of ridiculous stories. So the only truth to it is that there was a report of someone doing this, but it wasn't in Ohio. Mm-hmm. It was not a migrant. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the story is like almost a year old, if I'm not mistaken. So, these type of narratives that are created to sow discourse, check the target audience that they're trying to hit you with on these kind of things. And I would remind people, we just had a school shooting, okay? And for someone who's running to be the vice president of the United States, someone who's a sitting senator, to be repeating these ridiculous stories when we, again, just shows their insensitivity to real issues that Americans are facing, the problem that we have with gun violence in this country. And it goes back to something I've said before, with them demonizing things at the border. Border crossings are down, people. I just wish that the facts would get out there. The border crossings are down, all right? The person that's running for president on the Republican ticket was the one who basically threw a monkey wrench into a bipartisan deal that was agreed upon by a very conservative congressman. And by the way, he even repeated, I'm talking about James Lankford, he even repeated that, yes, this was true about them having a deal agreed to, but he wanted to make sure he had something to run on in this election. So he did not want a deal to be done because it takes away something that they can try to hammer, whether at the time be President Biden or in this instance now Vice President Harris. They didn't want him to get a win. So these type of false narratives go out there, and as ridiculous and silly as it sounds, people tend to believe it. Just because you put it out there on the internet, just because someone else repeats it, well, then it must be valid. And I just want people to be aware of a lot of the false propaganda that's going to be going out between now and Election Day. And just be careful. Just be mindful of what you see. And don't believe all of this stuff. It's designed to provide discourse amongst people in the election, to believe silly things that just aren't true. So just be aware of it and recognize where it comes from.
Appreciate that, Bobby. Like you're saying, man, it's wild, the propaganda that is put out there, but I've been saying for a while that in America, the bottom line is that hate sells, and they know it. Some people look at some of the outlandish stuff that they put out, like about this whole thing with the eating of the cats and all that stuff. They try to paint the picture. They try to paint the picture of the migrant as brown people.
Correct.
But how convenient did they make it a Haitian? Made it to be. It's very convenient.
Savages.
Exactly. Savages, beast. It brings back, just like they did with the Willie Horton stuff. It is by design. It is on purpose, and they know that it sells. And I think the mistake that a lot of people make, Bobby and Rodney, I really do think a lot of people make the mistake of looking at it like, well, that's so silly. Who's gonna believe it? But who's gonna follow that? But the thing about it, they do it because it works. It's sad, but it actually works.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Bobby. I understand that Mr. Musk and X were upping the algorithm to promote this nonsense. Well, I have a friend who's a state assemblywoman in Brooklyn, New York, Rodney Rodney. She's from Haiti. She's the first Haitian American state elected representative in New York. And she sent out a message today on her newsletter. I just wanted to share a little bit of it.
Okay.
Let's not forget that Haitians, who formed the first black republic in the world, contributed blood, sweat, and tears to shape the United States in their fighting in the Battle of Savannah. They helped gain our country's independence, and their revolution paved the way for the Louisiana Purchase. Today, they serve as doctors, lawyers, engineers, and countless roles bettering our country.
There would be no west of the Mississippi if it wasn't for Haiti.
Hello.
If it wasn't for Haiti. So, but you know what, Rodney? They know that so many Americans don't know the history, don't know how important Haiti is to America. So
Right.
so it makes it easy, like Bobby said, it makes it easy for them to villainize them and make them out of savages. But to take a story, it just goes to show the work that they do. To take a story that's over a year old and you dig that up right at this time, because nothing is sticking to Vice President Harris, and you do this. But Bobby, before we let you go, before we bring our guest on, I just do want you to know, man, I'm gonna have to talk with you offline, because I need for you to help me understand this. Of course, I watched the UGA game, this past weekend, and I watched the Falcons game. Now, here's where I want you to help me understand is that I did not see any Harris ads, right? I may have missed them, but I definitely saw Trump ads, because, being that Georgia is, a swing state, purple state, whatever. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, maybe they got somebody in their campaigns that maybe knows something I don't know. I'm not part of the campaign, but maybe they know that, well, people don't want to watch, campaign ads, during the football game or whatever. I don't know if that's a strategy, but I personally do not remember. We'll talk about it offline, Bobby, but I personally do not remember seeing not a one Harris ad for the UGA game and for the Atlanta Falcons game. They were both played at the Georgia Dome in Georgia. So I'm like,
Well, I'll say quickly.
Okay.
It's funny. Saturday I was actually in Fargo, North Dakota.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was actually there, so I didn't see the Georgia game other than just looking at the score on my phone. But I did fly back for the Falcons game. I'm a season ticket holder. I will say this: I know the owner, Arthur Blank. I don't know him personally, but I cannot see him as a Republican supporter of Donald Trump, considering that Mr. Blank is Jewish. Mr. Blank has always been a fair-minded man in my eyes. I just don't see him supporting that. So I don't know what was advertised while the game was going on, because I was physically there. But it's interesting that you know that.
Yeah, so it's just something, and I was like, well, maybe it's because they done research to know that people don't want to see those ads. But then when I saw the Trump ads, I'm just like, But no, I think you're right with Arthur Blank, because I think a few years back that he did call out Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, for being right wing or something. So I think you're right about Mr. Blank. Anything you got, Rodney, before we let Bobby go?
No, bro, you have a great week, and I look forward to your show.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Once again,
right,
thank you for your time. Enjoy your evening.
As always, man. Appreciate you.
All right, now. What do we have coming up next?
What do we got next, Rodney?
I think we have, here come the judge, Cassandra Kirk, Chief of the Magistrate Court in Fulton County.
All right, let's get the judge in here.
There she is.
Hey, Judge Kirk, can you see us? Can you hear us? Great.
And I can hear you. Hello.
Great. Hey. Judge, we're going to let the audience know that that Judge Kirk is coming in a little low, but she's going to remember to, give us that great voice that she has, and I'm sure that it echoes throughout the courtroom. It's going to echo throughout the Black Man's Roundtable platform today. So, Rodney, take it away, brother.
Welcome to the Roundup on the Black Man's Roundtable. Tell us about yourself, and what are you going to talk about tonight?
Thank you. First, thank you, Rodney and Rodney, for having me. My name is Cassandra Kirk. I serve as Chief Magistrate Judge in the Magistrate Court of Fulton County. We are the busiest magistrate court in this state. We also, unfortunately, are the most understaffed court in this state. And so what I want to talk about tonight is the fact that our court has closed 41,600 cases this year, which means we've been doing a lot of work.
Wow.
But as of August 27th, 2024, we are down to 3 support staff, which means we are having to change the way calendars work. You all know that the courts in general have been having challenges as a result of the Postal Service. We have been attempting to get the message out to please use digital notices. So I just really want to tell people that your magistrate court is working very hard. We are trying to do the best we can with the resources that have been given to us. So I think it's very interesting that our other guest was talking about voting, because that is exactly how we get here. Right now, our court is being hampered because of some political shenanigans, and so that is based on people that are not me, but other people that have also been voted on. And so this court has been in existence for 10 years, and we have made such incredible progress. So this is my opportunity to say, help, help. We do a lot of great work in the community, but we cannot survive. We cannot handle 100,000 cases every year with 3 staff members. We have 26 judges, but right now we are running at a deficit. That means people will suffer. That means cases will suffer. We are continuing to go and do our work in the community, which is our Magistrate Court 101, which we do in collaboration with our library system, where we talk to people in the community about how to handle a small claims case, a warrant application case, and a garnishment case. We are still continuing to do those in collaboration with our local library. We are still continuing to do our Bang the Gavel program, where we invite local high school students in to spend a day with the court. But I can tell you, it is going to be very difficult. Obviously, we do electronic warrants 24/7, 365. We do first appearance 6 days a week. This is a court that is always operating nonstop, but now we are in a rest.
Tell me, what kind of cases do you handle in this court? What's your jurisdiction?
So we have civil as well as criminal jurisdiction. I like to tell people that we are a Judge Judy meets law and order. So if you are the person that is an officer trying to get a search or arrest warrant, you're going to come to one of our judges on electronic warrant. So it's like FaceTime. They're available 24/7 to the 15 jurisdictions, municipalities throughout our county. On the other end, and that's a little bit of our criminal, then obviously we do first appearance 6 days a week. We do probable cause hearings. We do preliminary hearings. We also do a misdemeanor mental health court, which is a wonderful collaboration that has started only because this court exists. And so that started in 2018. That gives those individuals that are actually in jail, that have misdemeanors, that have some mental health, behavioral health concerns, an opportunity to participate in our program. We provide them supportive housing. We also provide them a safe release from the jail, safe for them, safe for the community, safe for their families, and we work them through a 12-month program. We are a state-certified program for our misdemeanor mental health court, and we have a state-certified coordinator for our misdemeanor mental health court. So I've talked to you a little bit about our criminal. The other piece I would add is that we do 3 calendars for our superior court, where we provide judicial assistance for them. One of the heavy lifts that we do, and you may know Magistrate Court for, is our landlord-tenant calendar. Our small claims calendar for the jurisdiction is less than $15,000. And then we also have garnishment, post-judgment collection. So that is kind of a down and dirty. From Judge Judy, the law and order. We do it all.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
So,
Right. I was going to ask the judge real quick. I know you talked about the low staff that you guys have, and it has a political kind of tinge to it. I know you said 3 staff members. Is that for the is that per judge, or is that the entire? Go ahead, Judge.
So I love that you'd like it to be for per judge, because that is what it is in most courts. So our court was created in 2013, 2014. We really started putting boots on the ground and taking control of this court in 2015, 2016. So that is when we had our first budget in 2016. And so our court, created by local legislation, had to be carved out, and the county just really didn't plan for our court. So we were given initially 39 people. I transferred and shared those individuals with Tina Robinson, who was our clerk at that time. with the understanding that those staff would be able to work through both of us. And so we have had just an absolute, it was hindsight's 2020. It is not something that I should have done, would have done, had I known what I know now, because they have gained an additional 19 people, and we are down to operating with what was the ORCA staff. And so ORCA staff is the county's answer to the ARPA funding. Various courts did various different things with that. In our county, we created ORCA calendars, and so that staff was helping us run our ORCA calendars, and they've been helping us we've been using these grant funds since 2020 in order for our court just to operate. And so that is kind of where we are. That funding for our court ended August 27th, 2024. So we went from 10 support staff to 3 support staff. And I have been pleading, I know Rodney Littles knows that I have been pleading with our Board of Commission for months, for years, to fully staff this court. And so we've kind of at the point where the rubber meets the road. The Board of Commission had an opportunity to extend that ORCA staffing and chose not to. And so I know I am down staff. I know we are directly connected with our marshal, because once you get a writ, you want to actually evict the individual. It is the marshal that does those. The marshal is also losing staff. So it is going to be a ripple effect across all of the courtrooms, across all of the courts. But when you are a court like ours that starts being understaffed, like just every little bit helps.
Thank you for that.
What would your ideal staffing levels be to handle the demand that you have?
So we have actually had assessments done from the Carl Vincent Institute since 2016. Carl Vincent says we need 78 people. We've just had a recent staffing and assessment of our court done by the G Global, I can't recall their name, and they said we need 48 staff. So here's what I know, that with our 26 judges, we need probably 45 people. We can get, so.
Gotcha. That was an independent assessment.
They were, both of them were. Yes.
Gotcha. Are there any revenues that come out of your court?
There are. Yes.
Talk to me.
Thank you. And so, because every time someone does a writ, I will tell you that our calendar, we do about 100,000 cases, about 80,000 civil cases. There is a cost for each of those civil cases. There is also a cost for each of the writs that's associated with our landlord-tenant cases. Landlords file about 45,000 cases a year. About 25 of those actually go to court. We'll get an actual writ. Writs cost another cost, which goes into another pot of money. So there are lots of pots of money that come in. Each time you file a case, there's money that comes in. Each time you e-file a document, there's money that comes in. So there is revenue that is coming in. There's revenue that's coming in. It's
Judge,
going to the general fund. It doesn't come to us.
Judge, pardon me if you did this already, but explain to the audience exactly what a writ is. You may have done it, but that may have slipped me. Okay.
I didn't. I just keep moving everything together. So if you are a landlord or a tenant, your landlord files the affidavit that says, I want this individual out of my house. This is why. The tenant has 7 days to respond to that. At the end of that, so if the tenant files an answer, the court schedules that case. And I will tell you, as of August 25th, 26th, 27th, we were scheduling those cases within 30 days of answers being filed. You all remember during the pandemic, it was months for those cases to be filed. Well, we're going to go back to that. Right now, after you get the answer filed, there is a court hearing. If the judge rules for the landlord, then the landlord is entitled to a writ. Again, there's a 7-day opportunity for the tenant to remove their property. The writ is issued, and the writ is the document that is given in our case, it's given to the marshal for them to actually execute the eviction.
Thank you.
Them, but not the property, yes.
So if folks pay money for these types of proceedings and it doesn't come to your court and there's a backlog, do you have cases and situations where fees have been paid but action hasn't been taken?
Well, so if you're saying if you file a case, does it sit? So when you
Right.
file a case and you pay for those cases,
Right.
they will sit until the case is heard. So the
Okay.
case is going to be heard.
Yes.
It's just a matter of when the case will
When.
be heard. And
I
so
got you.
efficiency is being interrupted. Yes.
Got you. So in an ideal situation, who would be the best folks to give you what you need?
So the only people that control our budgets are the Board of Commissions. And so as each of those individuals run, I say to our citizens, don't just look at them smiling at your face. Ask them what they're doing for those things that make a difference. Our court touches people where they are every single day. And so if I have to make a decision between whether or not we're doing EWI, electronic warrants, 24/7, or if we're doing it 12 hours, that takes officers out of the street. That now blocks people from being able to move efficiently. If we have to make a decision as to whether or not first appearance is happening 6 days a week versus 3 days a week, that affects the number of people coming to a jail. It affects how people are impacted. Same difference if we're talking about landlord-tenant cases. Every time we have to delay an action or set it aside simply because we do not have staffing, it affects how people are handled and how people are treated. That's a concern for me.
I understand. So going forward, what would you like to see done?
I would love for the Board of Commission to actually understand how our court functions, to take the recommendations from any of the assessments we have done, and to fully and adequately staff our court.
It's pretty straightforward.
Very straightforward.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Is there anything else that we need to know that
Yes,
the
yes.
public has not? Because this is new to me, although I followed the court and I didn't know it was so new in terms of its structure, etc. So it seems like there has to be an adjustment so that everyone gets used to how it fits in to the operation of the judicial system in the county.
Yes, I think that is absolutely perfect. I think that's absolutely correct. There are a lot of people that it's almost like they don't want us to exist, but the truth is we're here and we're like crushing our numbers. We're doing a really good job. We're doing a service to the people that come to our courts. And so I want to be able to continue that.
Right.
So, Rodney, before we let Judge Kirk let the people know, let the followers of the roundtable know how they can, reach her and how she can be reached and that kind of thing. Judge, I just do want to let you know that I am constantly talking to people about the effects of local politics, right? That all politics is truly local. People worry. I tell people all the time, you worry so much about what the Supreme Court is doing, and we should worry about what the Supreme Court is doing. But oftentimes what the Supreme Court is doing, the decisions that they make may not affect you for 6 months, sometimes even 6 years down the road. But what these local courts are doing, and like you said, the magistrate court, it is a court that touches people every day, right? And so I tell people, don't stop worrying about what the Supreme Court does, but you really need to focus on these local courts, especially courts like your magistrate court, which touches every single body. So right now, I just wanted to make sure the judge know that
Yes,
we
sir.
are advocates for what she is advocating for in order to get what she needs for her court, and we will continue to advocate for her, and not for her, but for the court, and we will. And right now, I know you'll have her back on when you see need be. So Judge Kirk, you probably won't be a stranger until you get what you want, and you won't be a stranger then. But Rodney, close it out, brother.
Yes, sir. So, Your Honor, tell me how folks can reach you, or because you mentioned several good programs, how can they find out about those programs?
We are a court that believes in informing, engaging, and empowering our community. And to that end, we have a website, www.magistratefulton.com. We are on Instagram and we are on Facebook. Our Instagram is Magistrate Fulton, and our Facebook is Magistrate Court of Fulton County. So we encourage you to contact us, Facebook, Instagram. If you have questions, email magistratejarequest@fultoncountyga.gov. We are available and accessible. Thank you all again for having me.
Oh, great. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Your
much
Honor.
for coming on, Your Honor. Appreciate you. Keep up the good work. And we're going to find that money.
All right, Rodney. That was a lot of great information. And these courts, and I really do mean what I say, Rodney, these courts, these local courts do so much for, and sometimes if we don't have the right judges in there, so much against our community.
Amen.
And I just really, a judge should not have to come on and, you know, almost beg for support, beg for what she needs. But that just shows her dedication and commitment to her court. So we look forward to talking to Judge Kirk again.
Yes,
and once again,
indeed.
Rodney, great guest as always.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I enjoyed it very much, sir. Thank you for joining me on that.
Absolutely. What we got next, Rodney?
Hot topics, my brother.
Oh, yeah. You got a good
Man,
one
it was
for us
hard
today.
to pick one. There's so many. Woo! I tell you.
People don't know what we go through to narrow down a topic
Oh, Lord,
because we have 1,000 things we want to talk about, but we have to narrow it down. But you got it, Rodney.
Well, I think one of the things that has plagued me and my thoughts over my adult life has been the division between black men. We have not been as united as we have been in our history in this country when we were directly under attack as black men in this country. And the propaganda and the misinformation that Bobby talked about earlier, unfortunately, some of it has been targeted specifically at maintaining and widening the divide amongst and between black men. So my concern and my topic today has to do with the influence and where it's coming from and why it's coming from. Well, in general, there are some foreign actors that are just trying to divide Americans, period. As you know, we are well divided. A country divided cannot stand.
That's right.
Who benefits from that? Our enemies from outside this country, okay? But what has happened is they found a sweet spot in trying to maintain a division between black men. So they've targeted influencers, used social media to send the kind of messages that keep us fighting as black men. And I think what we have to get back to, Rodney, is, if they hadn't come up with this issue of racism, yeah, maybe I could see, well, you got Jamaican ancestry, or you got Haitian ancestry, or you got North Carolina ancestry. So, that's why we don't get along. But when they came up with this construct of race, we're all in the pot together.
Yes. Yes.
I don't care what your income level is. I don't care what your IQ is. We are viewed as one.
Yes.
Okay? And we are viewed as the enemy, as a threat to this country. In some people's eyes, not everyone,
Right.
but in some people's eyes. And they've exploited the division that we have succumbed to, particularly through our young men.
Absolutely.
And we have to be more conscious, and those of us that have a little more gray hair really gonna have to get on the microphone and break this habit of us being at war between each other. We cannot survive if we maintain the division that exists over absolutely nonsense.
And Rodney, look, you know that the reason for this platform that we have is in particular to do exactly what you said, to bring black men specifically back to the fold, bring black men out of the shadows that I think that by design they have been pushed into, and also youth. And I know we talk about things on the Black Man's Roundtable that is a little uncomfortable for some people. Well, the way I look at it, Rodney, if you are a non-black person, and look, now I think there's some black people who are uncomfortable with some of the things we talk about. So, but if you are a non-black person and you are uncomfortable with the conversations that we have to get real with on the Black Man's Roundtable, then I often say you may not be my ally anyway, because you just should not be uncomfortable. Okay. So, and I say all the time, we can't afford to leave the black silent. Just the name itself, the Black Man's Roundtable, makes some people very uncomfortable. But, some morning show on some network, channel, ABC, CBS, NBC, whatever, MSNBC, CNN, or whatever, they're able to have some show and call it, hello, good morning to everybody, or whatever you want to call it, and not leave out the white part. But everybody at that table is white. We can't afford, and I tell people, we cannot afford to leave the black silent. And so we are unapologetic on this platform, and we have to get out, because we have to get out what's really happening in the world, especially in the United States. And like you said, Rodney, this stuff is by design. It's been
Yes, sir.
it's been created in labs, if you will, all these think tanks
Yes,
that they
sir.
call. And
Yes,
so
sir.
we really have to bring this stuff out. But one thing I would say, Rodney, is this: I tell people all the time, right? The person who is benefiting from all of this conquer and divide, there's one person benefiting, and that is the rich white man at the top.
Amen.
That is who is benefiting from all the divide. So if you think you're
Amen.
going to get a piece of that pie because you have a lack of melanin in your skin, or that you are you voted for them, or whatever the situation is, it is not the case. They don't like you just like they don't like us.
Amen. Well put, my brother. Well, as the saying goes, while they have us divided, whether it be black, white, or brown, they are picking our pockets the same way.
Yes, sir.
They got us fighting with each other, so we're not focusing on who really we need to be focusing on together, regardless of so-called race or ethnicity.
And we talk about, like Bobby talked about with the election and the propaganda and the things that are going on, that ain't nothing about, bringing up some story that got nothing to do with anything that happened more than a year ago.
Right.
And now, because now you have, again, the rich white guy at the top and Elon Musk and others who own these platforms and are able
Yes, sir.
to really get the word out there to, to unsuspecting people. I think I'm using a term unsuspecting, but Donald Trump says he loved the uneducated, and
Yes.
yeah. And so,
Yes, sir.
Rodney,
That's
and so, people say, well, why do you take out your time? People ask us, right? Why do y'all take out y'all time to do these, to have this platform? It is because, you know what? You got to fight fire with fire.
Yes, sir.
The Black Man's Roundtable and some of these other small platforms, may not have the reach of, X or whatever. I guess it's X now, and Facebook and some of these other ones, huge ones. But together, all these little small platforms can really, we hope, really make a difference. And there are quite a few out there. And we don't, as you know, we don't try to compete with any of them. We try to engage with them and also, team up with them in order to get the word out and try to counter some of this stuff.
There should be some anti-truth laws for anyone that's buying or controlling a media empire in this country. There should be truth, as like it is in advertising a product. It should be truth in information. Anti-information laws need to be instituted so that anyone who controls a major medium that's in entertainment instead of a news station like Fox should have their license removed and or be penalized every time they propagate misinformation. I don't know if $700 million was enough of a fine, because they're still doing it.
Yeah, and and they know they can easily, make that up.
Yes, sir.
They have a captive. That's the one thing. You have a captive audience like Rupert, like Fox has, and you can do a lot of wonderful or a lot of terrible things with that. And I think, Rodney, you may know this a little bit better than I do. So if you could help me clean it up if I mess it up. But I think there was a was it a fairness doc, not fairness doctrine, fairness act of a Fairness Act or something like that back in the 80s, where, you know, before the right wingers took over the radio waves or whatever, where you had to give equal time. I think it was the Fairness Act or something like that.
Correct.
And I think
Issues, yes.
yeah, and I think Ronald Reagan, I believe he was the president that basically overturned that, and it opened up the floodgates to, you know, all of this misinformation. And we have to understand that a lot of times those of us who are wanting to do good and wanting to use our voices and use our energy to, you know, for good, the people that wants to use their energy and their voices for bad, a lot of times they are the ones who are playing chess and we're the ones who playing checkers. They knew, I think they could see all the way back in 1984 or whenever that Fairness Act was overturned. I think that they could see all the way forward to 2024 and be able to realize that, you know, that there would be platforms. It might not have, you know, names for them back then, but there would be platforms where this can affect even more than just the radio. And now you see it all over social media and some of the and the thing about it though, Rodney, is that, like I was saying when Bobby was on with his Politics Corner, they do this stuff. A lot of times I think progressives, liberals, they kind of look down their nose at some of this stuff what some of these people do. And it's like, you know, that's not going to work on them. No, it's not going to work on you.
Right.
But this stuff literally works, or else they would not be doing it.
That's right. That's right. I just wish that my brothers in particular would understand that if your vote did not count, why are they trying so hard to take it away? And I end my piece on that, bro.
Yeah. You know, and we can talk. I tell people, you know, don't waste so much time on that person who, the more logic you talk, the more illogical they get. Just leave that person alone and go to the next person, you know, because you're wasting your time. But anyway, Rodney, it was a great hot topic. And I just hope that I hope people heard what you had to say, man, because, you know, especially like I said, our brothers out there, you know, this, again, I always say this race, this presidential race will not be won or lost because of black men. You know, in fact, I'll say it straight up and I'll say it straight out. This is a black man's round table. You know, I tell people all the time, Rodney, be for real. This is a black man round table. So sometimes I have to do that to myself. And so the bottom line, I've said it on this platform before and I'll say it again. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it even in the future. This race, the most important group in this race are white women. They are going to win or lose this race. And I can't wait to see what their percentages are as far as voting for Donald Trump. If it is north of 50 again, with all of what has come out in the last 6 years, my God, man, God, have mercy on this country, you know?
I have faith in our Caucasian sisters.
I do too, man.
And I'll leave it there.
I do too. But I'm going to tell you, Rodney, I'm watching it like a hawk. I promise you.
Sir.
You have to. So anyway, Rodney, that was, again, a great hot topic for this episode.
That was a good one.
Yeah. And what we got? We got our whole spotlight, our Project 2025. Rodney,
buddy.
you got the goods.
Bro, 922 pages, bro. Listen. It took me 3 days just to go through the law enforcement section, bro. 3 days.
Yes.
But there's two major sections that cover that under law enforcement.
Oh, Rodney, I want to make sure the audience know that since we don't have time to talk about the entire, I remind the audience, the entire Project 2025 before the election, because we only do this show every other week, so two times a month. But we think that law enforcement is one of the most important aspects of the 10 or 11 or so aspects that we looked at with the Project 2025, and we looked at the ones that are really that we think that affect our community the most. Like next week, it would be health. Not next week. Week after next, it'll be healthcare. But this one is law enforcement. So Rodney is going to really show you how the law enforcement aspect of Project 2025 really affects our community particularly.
Well, now, this is not the magistrate court we're talking about. We're talking about the Department of Justice, the Federal Department of Justice. That's what the law enforcement section deals with. Well, let's talk about what the role of the Department of Justice is. Two primary roles: protecting public safety and defending the rule of law. So that's one of the reasons that the Department of Justice has been maintaining over the years that it's been around an independent type role. In other words, the president, the vice president, they should not be calling up the DOJ telling them, we need you to investigate so-and-so because we don't like them. No, it's supposed to be as close to an independent branch of government as possible so that we don't get colored by politics. Couple of, under protecting public safety, they plan to end 10-year term of the FBI director to turn it to serve at the will of the president. The current FBI director was appointed by the previous president, who was Republican. But because he had a 10-year term, he succeeds a sitting president and vice president. So under the Project 2025, they want to eliminate the 10-year term and the person would serve at will. And you remember under 45, how many appointments were fired? What the turnover was at the Department of Justice?
Yes, sir.
So that's a dangerous part of that platform. The next one, they want to restrict consent decrees with local police departments who have abused police powers by using unwarranted force. Rodney King, you name it. You know what I'm talking about. Consent decrees, they want to eliminate consent decrees. I can't imagine that. So there'll be no oversight on local police departments that have run amok and are taking things into their own hands. And a lot of times it's based upon race. Can you believe that, Rodney?
Yes. Sadly, yes. Sadly, yes, Rodney. You know, because the whole goal, as far as, and that's why we wanted to bring up the law enforcement aspect first of this Project 2025. You know what the deal is. The deal is to basically give these individual police forces all over America, you know, they want to give them like the Supreme Court just gave the president, you know, the executive branch, you know, full immunity. That's what they want to do. And what community do you think that's going to be affected the most by local and state police having full immunity? You know, that's going to really hurt, affect our community more than any other community, because look at what they're doing right now in our community, like some of the names that you just named. Look at what they're doing. Now think about that under a Trump presidency.
Right.
Wow.
Right. It gets even worse. Again, under protecting public safety, so-called, they want to use the Department of Justice to investigate progressive district attorneys who utilize criminal justice reforms such as alternative sentencing. Now, who is that going to affect more than anybody else, Rodney? Our community.
Our community.
Clearly.
Our community. Our community.
So,
Yep.
Progressives. So if you're going to go after the DA for that, what else are you going to go after them for? You prosecuted a former president. Well, then you need to be removed. You need to be investigated. That's what we're talking about. Unbridled from any type of responsibility in doing the job that they should be doing.
Which right now, the other part I can't understand is how weird it is that the Trump campaign try to separate itself from Project 2025 when he literally says everything out loud. Since we're talking about law enforcement aspect of it, he literally says it exactly what it says in, like you said, 922 pages. you're saying it out loud. And like with the law enforcement piece, he's literally come and said what he's going to go after his political enemies. He's going to lock them up and give them the stiffest penalties that that they can possibly get. Basically saying about what I was talking about with the giving the police immunity. They look at what police is doing with qualified immunity. That's what they have right now. Think about what they do. Think about how bad it'll be with full immunity. So he is literally saying this stuff out loud. Forget about the dog whistles. This man is saying it with a bullhorn, and then turn around and say, well, I don't know what Project 2025 is. Well, if you don't know what Project 2025 is, then you could have written it just simply by talking. So you trying to tell us that the horse came, the buggy came before the horse? No, bro. I think you whipping those horses, yeah.
Couple of items on the defending the rule of law. They want enforcing the death penalty, particularly crimes involving violence and sexual abuse of children. They want to increase the death penalty. Well, we know how many folks have been on death row wrongfully, who were innocent.
Yes, sir.
And these special programs have to try to get it corrected before they get killed. And I believe in one state, I think it was Texas, they found clearly that the brother was innocent. They didn't stop from executing him. So I'm worried about this death penalty issue.
They'll do away with the Innocence Project, which is the nonprofit that has found so many of these predominantly black men, not guilty, not even close to being guilty. When you look at all the background and the evidence of it, it's like, how in the world you just pluck somebody straight out of nowhere and just said they're guilty? And so, but yeah, they would definitely do away with things like the Innocence Project, Rodney, that has helped. I think it's going to get to the point where it's going to become hard to find someone, an African American in this country, who does not have someone in their family,
right,
who has not been helped by the Innocence Project, because they was locked up for for wrongdoing, and they didn't even do anything.
Exactly. The next one that gave me chills, bro. They want to eliminate all existing consent decrees. Existing.
Wow.
They want to take us back, bro. I had two more I wanted to run by.
Go ahead. We got time.
Real quick. They want to end all cases and investigations that run contrary to the President of the United States opinion. Wait a minute.
Wow.
Now. End all cases and investigations that run contrary to the President of the United States. Well, that means he can't be investigated for any wrongdoing. That's what we're talking about here. Above the law. This is beyond. We're talking about dictatorship.
Well,
entering dictatorship, my friend.
Rodney, that one reminds me of what Justice Sonia Sotomayor said when basically the Supreme Court gave Donald Trump, the White House, that immunity, is that they have. And I think I'm going to quote her. If not, I'm going to paraphrase. But anyway, I think she said, these are her words. I believe she said, we just made the presidency king.
Yes, sir.
We just made him king. And that is what you're talking about in your last, in your last comment on that.
And my last point that I got that I thought was very, very important to our people. They want to reverse the diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, all of a government effort of the Biden and Harris administration that are viewed as reverse discrimination against Caucasians. This whole reverse discrimination bugs me. I don't understand it. When affirmative action predated DEI, it was designed to begin the process of repair for descendants of chattel slavery, Black Americans that were descendants of chattel slavery. That's what the affirmative action in purchasing of goods and services, in employment, that was the purpose, to diversify those opportunities, but particularly targeting descendants of chattel slavery. How is it possible that 14% of the population could possibly be discriminated against a majority? You have to have, in order to discriminate, you have to have control of power. You have to have the seat of power to do that. We don't have the seat of power to be able to do that. And so I have a problem with the concept in general, the so-called reverse discrimination. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't exist. It's another figment, a construct of race. The terminology and the use of race as a way to divide us and categorize us in this country. So that scares the heck out of me, bro.
Yeah, me too. Right now I try to refrain sometimes, a lot of times, from using the term scare, because I tell you what, it angers me. Okay. Mm-hmm. It angers me. And really, like you said, that whole phrase is really an oxymoron.
Correct.
It's literally, it's really an oxymoron when you're talking about reverse discrimination. They just, I just read a report where at MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where they dropped their whole DEI program, like they're doing in colleges around the country, especially these elite colleges or whatever, right? And since they've done that, the Black student enrollment has dropped, or acceptance has dropped significantly. I'm not going to quote, because I can't remember. I'm not going to quote the actual percentage that is dropped, but it has dropped significantly at MIT since they cut out their DEI program. Rodney, I think that, I remember looking at something one time and they were asking, a lot of people, what a lot of these so-called people who are so mad at DEI, right? And they asked them, well, what is DEI? What does it stand for? What does it mean? They had no idea.
Exactly.
They had no idea.
Exactly.
They were saying stuff like division and equity and, and I forget, what they would say the I stand for, but they did not know. And I said, I'm talking about they didn't know. They didn't know. They would just make up. They would just make up stuff. And when they would ask them, what does it mean? But I tell you, I would say easily 80% of the people did not know what those three letters actually meant. They would say, they would spew, or they would just say, I don't know what it means. And
it has
so
a negative connotation.
Right, that's all they know. They just know that they've been told that it's bad. And I say, maybe we should stop utilizing, because, the so-called conservatives, I don't know what they're trying to conserve. Well, we know what they're trying to conserve, but the so-called conservatives they take these acronyms that we have, right? Because they don't know. And when I say they, Rodney, I'm talking about some of these people are elected officials and they do not know what DEI stand for. And it's just like, where they'll take all of these acronyms or whatever that is used in progressive talk, and then they'll just say it's wrong. I say maybe we may need to stop using the acronyms and just actually say the full words, because it seems like they can't pronounce it anyway. And so maybe they won't hijack it if we just use the entire phrase instead of using the 3-letter acronyms or whatever we use. I don't know. I'm being facetious, but at the same time, when you look at the amount of people, even elected officials, that they don't know what the letters stand for, maybe we should stop. Maybe we should drop the acronyms. I don't know.
Well, I think until the discussion starts about reparations, we're going to continue to have this battle to take away what they think people of color, particularly descendants of chattel slavery and Black folks in this country, have experienced. And there's going to come a time, my friend, where they're going to regret this, because they're going to be in the minority. And then they're going to be desperate for affirmative action and DEI. It won't be reverse discrimination. It'll be straight up discrimination, because they've created this construct. They've created this conflict. And then lastly, I want to say, we're supposed to be a private sector driven economy and country. Well, America has cut its nose off to spite its face. According to Citibank economist researchers, discrimination, racism against black folks has cost this country $16 trillion since we were discovered and found. $16 trillion we have lost as part of our economy because of racism. And I rest my case.
Well, Rodney, I know that we're going to be talking about reparations in the future. For those that don't know, you are a direct descendant of the Tulsa massacre. You are or were a part of the reparations. Help me out, Rodney. The reparations.
The task force.
The task force.
Yes, I'm still a member.
Still a member of that with Fulton County. So I feel like we have a subject matter expert right here who happens to be, a co-host as well on the Roundup. So, we know you can bring it with that, but we're going to be talking. And in fact, Rodney, I think that a lot of these things that they talk about with things that make that helps the black community, they are really going after them, whether it's in the schools or whether it's just all over. They're going after them because they're trying to distract from the reparations talk, because the reparations talk was getting, and I think we got to get back on track with it. It was getting deep. It was getting heavy. And there are communities that have already, had open forums, with elected officials,
Correct.
With reparations talk. And I think that they know it's coming. They're scared that it's coming, so they try to roll back. They're trying to roll back every single thing. So it's like, okay, let's roll them back 50 years, so they have 50 years now to try to get this It's going to be 50 years now when they start back talking about reparations again. And so you spoke about not going back, and you spoke about how they're afraid of becoming, this could backfire because they will be in the minority. But Rodney, I would tell anybody, and I've just said this, I want to say it was about the middle of last week, I was talking to a person and I was like, look, these think tanks, I want to call them something else, but we try to keep the show clean. And, but these think tanks are really, they've been studying now for the last 20, 30, 40 years, the apartheid system and the white minority rule in South Africa, right? They've been studying it because they know the inevitable is coming. You will be the minority, but I don't think they're afraid, because they see that that in many places, the most known being South Africa, as far as being the white minority rule. So that's why they talk the way they talk about police, because those are two, I tell people this too, is that many police departments and sheriff's departments and sheriff offices all around the United States, and all other kinds of police agencies, guess where they send their people for training? They send their people to Israel.
Yes.
American, you will be surprised of the American police forces that are trained in Israel. And all I tell people, look at what's happening. Look at the way the police are doing in Israel right now. Correct. That training, American police are trained a lot for, foreign training in Israel. So, so if you look at where the police are being trained, and then you look at the white minority regime, power structure in South Africa, it'll tell you everything you need to know about what they're getting ready for right here. So, but anyway, Rodney, man, look, great hot topics as always. Great spotlight. And look, man, looking forward to our next show as always. I know you're going to have some stuff that's going to threaten to take us over the time, but we did real well tonight. And but we're gonna stay on time. We're gonna stay on target, because that's what we need to do. And we give the people enough to want to come back, man. And you do it every single other week, Rodney. Thank you for the show, brother. And I believe our next episode is September the 26th.
sir.
September 26th, and so be ready for that. And Rodney, with that, close us out, brother.
Well, we'll keep rounding them up. Join us again for the Unbought and Unbossed Posse. Until next time, Rodney
Peace.
and Rodney, Roundup.
Peace, brother.
Don't forget to check us out on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Do you have show ideas or want to be on the show? Shoot us an email at blackmansroundtable@gmail.com. And please follow us on Facebook.